So in this particular video, we are recording the step 4. The step 4 goes like this. Define a function to create group time series line graph. So we are going to use the function here. Why are we going to use this function is because we want some kind of facility wherein we have to call this particular function or particular group of line of code again and again for different years. That's why we are keeping the code as a separate function. Depending on the years, we will call a function repeatedly for plotting. This becomes apparent as we start coding. So we will write why to use function. Why? So here we are adding another header. So this becomes why use function, right? So we are using function for the following reason. So first reason for using the function is function helps us to reuse the same plotting logic for other time series later. So this is apparent, obvious. In any other programming language, you will be using the function for the similar reason. So instead of rewriting the plot code again and again, we write it once and call it with different values. So we'll be using the different function inputs. So here we'll be using function inputs. So very first function input we'll be using is the data. So this particular input is the data frame with time series values. The second input for this particular function we are using is x column. Name of the time column. The third input is y column. Y column. The name of the numeric column. The fourth one is grouping column. Name of the grouping column. So we need to group the values in multiple different categories, right? For that we are using grouping column. The year column is going to be grouping column. The title also we'll be using. This is custom plot title. All of these things we'll be using. So the data column, for the x column, what are we supposed to be passing is the date itself. For this one will be, for the y column we'll be using passengers. The third one we'll be using is year. The title we are passing the custom title. So all these are very much important. So in this plot, we will try to plot this particular plot incrementally. Very first thing, we will plot this plot by defining the function. So this plot will be having multiple layers. Once after defining this particular function, I will walk you across the layers one by one. Here I'll be adding one more code block here. First, let me define the name of the function which we are going to create. So the name of the function is plot time series. So plot time series is equal to function. Function is a keyword, and this function accepts data as we had already told. This is the first argument. The second argument is x column. The third argument is y column. Which one is the y column? The name of the y column. The fourth argument is grouping. Group call is the fourth argument. The fifth argument is title. This title you can pass anything. Air passengers trend analysis from 1949 to 1960. So this becomes the function definition. Here we will start defining the function. So the function name is plot time series. This is the function, the signature. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 title, 5 arguments. Here I am defining the function here. ggplot is equal to ggplot of data. So here the data is coming as the input of the function. I am taking that particular as a data, AES underscore string, right? So AES underscore string, you can see aesthetic mappings describe how the variables in the data mapped to visual properties. So AES is different from AES string, right? So AES string we'll be using underscore string. Here we will be mapping the X should be taken from the column called as X column. The Y should be taken from the column called as Y column. These values we are passing when the function is called. The next thing we will be using is color, needs to be taken from grouping column. And one more thing we'll be having is group, right? Group should be taken from the grouping column as well, right? So we have ggplot, AES string. So all these 4 variables we are defining in AES string. So once after doing this, let me see what is going to be the output. So we don't have any output yet, right? Because this ggplot is defined within time series. So unless I call this time series, there will not be any output. So let me define one more code block. Let me call plot, right? Plot underscore time series. Okay, plot underscore time series. I'm passing here passengers. The data name is data. The first column name X column we are giving as the date. The first column is the date, right? The second column I'm passing is the passengers. Y column is the passengers. The name of the column in the particular data frame, passengers. The third column I'm passing is year, right? The name of the column in the data frame I'm passing. The fourth column I'm passing is whenever I call the function, the fourth column I'm passing is already hard coded. I need not to pass. This is the function call. This is the function definition I'm doing. Plot time series. When I execute this particular line of code, this function gets called. Let me check any output is getting produced. See, this function is getting called. The X and Y are being mapped, but there is no the title for the graph as well as the trend graph or the time series or the data frame graph here, right? So in order to make that happen, we will